Welcome to the NLP Talks podcast, bringing you inspirational stories along with a good dose of potentially life-changing NLP strategies. I'm Laura Evans, multi-award-winning NLP trainer, and I'm on a mission to help you unleash your potential in business and life. I'm so glad you're here. Pull up a chair, listen in, and let's get started on revealing more about this transformational NLP toolkit. Welcome. How are you? I hope you are really well. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of this podcast takeover, where I'm talking about the things that make the difference if you want to start and scale a coaching business. It's great to see you here. Now, this is a really important episode, and we're going to talk about something that is on everybody's mind right now, and that is AI. Artificial intelligence. Now, before I go any further, let me just say a couple of things very clearly before we start. One, I'm not an AI engineer. I'm also not a lawyer. And what I am is somebody that has built multiple businesses over the last 12 or more years, who works with coaches every single day and mentors people looking to start and scale their coaching or therapy business. And I'm somebody who actively uses AI in my own training and coaching businesses. So what I want to give you in this episode is a practical, grounded perspective on AI and its use within coaching, therapy, and training businesses. Not the hype, not the fear, just what you actually need to understand as a coach or somebody looking to build a people-helping business. Because there are two big questions that keep coming up in various social media groups, in conversations that I'm having with people. Number one, will AI replace coaches? And two, should I even be doing this if AI can do it for me? So let's unpack this properly. Let's go. So let's start with what's already happening out there. So the reality is that people are already using AI as a form of coaching, and some people have even started coining the phrase, the rise of AI coaching. And what's happening is people are going to these large language models, they're called LLMs, but essentially you might know it as ChatGPT or Claude or some other language model. And what people are doing is they are putting in what we call AI prompts as a coaching tool. Now, this is all sounding quite technical, but believe me, I'm not technical. So if I can understand it, so can you. Now, what is a prompt? Well, a prompt in the land of AI is simply an instruction that you give to one of these large language models like ChatGPT, telling it what to do. For example, you could go into ChatGPT and you could say, act as a life coach and ask me questions to help me make a decision. And the AI language model will then ask a series of questions and give you responses. Now, on the surface, this might sound quite helpful. But here's where I want you to really stop and think, because who wrote the language model? Who is it that's writing the prompt that's going in? Was it an experienced coach? Was it someone who understands behavioural change? Was it someone that understands ethics and codes of conduct? Or were these language models created by IT people interested in monetizing a trend? Because there is a really big difference. And for me, there's a fundamental problem with using AI as a coach, because the core issue is that AI is not designed to coach you. AI was originally designed to predict helpful responses, to keep you engaged like social media and keep you asking it questions. And when it gives you answers, that feels good. But here's the biggest watch out that I can give you or anybody that's thinking about using AI to coach them or to help them make big decisions like this is these large language models are inherently biased, and this is what is not being talked about. So how and why are they biased? Well, you may remember a couple of years ago when this all started coming onto the radar of most of us in the general public, that there were people that had created content that were really upset that their content, their books, their songs, their lyrics, their website content had been used to train these large language models. And people are, I believe, still even now trying to sort out this issue around intellectual property and who owns this data that was used to train these large language models. And essentially, to you and I, let's just make this simple and let's just say that they used what was on the internet at a certain point in time to train these large language models. But no one ever checked whether that was correct data, whether it was right. It was just what was out there. So you've got large language models that are inherently biased based on the information that it was originally fed, if you like, in the beginning. And then, of course, you've got the factor of the people that built them, who themselves will have their own biases about what they think is right or wrong. You may have seen in the press some time ago, some organisations were employing people to look at some of the content and trying to decide whether that content was good content or not good content. But not a lot of care was given when these large language models were created to kind of checking the data that went into them. Now, what's happening now is that these large language models are teaching themselves. They are seeking out more information and they are learning all the while. And every time any one of us uses a large language model like ChatGPT, it's learning from us. So when it gives us an answer and we kind of say, actually, no, that's not correct, it goes, oh, okay, yeah, do you know what? You're right, it's not correct. And so it's learning all the time. But the problem is not necessarily that. The problem is that there is an inbuilt part of these large language models that is designed to please you. It's designed to give you the answer that it thinks you want to hear because it's learning about you all the time. And the problem with using AI as a substitute for a coach is that the AI doesn't necessarily tell you what you need to hear. It won't challenge you. It won't do some of the things that a traditional coach, another human being, will be able to do. You know, some people have even named or given a personality to their AI. And I think that's kind of got to come with a little bit of a caution because it's a machine. It is a machine. It is a computer that has been taught how to give you what you want. So AI can simulate understanding, so it can make itself appear that it understands you, but really it doesn't understand you. It only understands what you fed it about you, and it only understands information that it has acquired or has been trained on. AI predicts language, but it doesn't perceive truth. It can't tell right from wrong. And this is, of course, an issue. AI gives you a probable answer. And coaches really help you uncover the real answers because they understand the nuances of life and, working with another human being. Let's not forget, these are machines and we should always keep them in that camp, in my opinion. Now, the illusion of coaching then and kind of what's really going on is, let's be clear, AI does have a place because it can ask questions, it can reflect back language, and it can provide structured responses. All of these on the face of it are skills that potentially could be helpful. And are skills that could ultimately lead to people thinking they don't need you as a coach and they'll use AI instead. Because if all you do within your coaching practice is listen and ask questions, AI is going to improve massively over the coming years and it will ultimately replace you, in my opinion. Where we're different when we're NLP coaches is we're not just listening and asking questions. We're listening to the surface level structure of what people say. And then we're using that to work out how to help people change unconscious behavioral processes that automatically lead to them to thinking, feeling, and acting differently. So when we do NLP coaching, we're actually helping people to change their thinking and change their mindset. And that's so much more than just asking questions. but it can't challenge you in real time. It can't notice what's missing. It can't pick up on those subtle hesitations when a coach asks a client a question and they pause and the tonality changes as, the client responds. It can't hear the shift in your tone. It can't see the incongruencies that a well-trained coach will be able to pick up on. And if you're trained in NLP, you'll know that this is where the real breakthroughs happen for clients when we work with them. As a trained coach, I'm listening for what you say, what you don't say, how you say it, where you hesitate, where your physiology changes. When someone says, Laura, that's actually a really good question, and pauses before they respond. AI can't detect any of this. AI is not in the room with you. It's not a human. It's probability, and it's feeding you what you want to hear. Then that brings me on to some of the ethical concerns over people using AI as coaches. So AI was not built with a robust set of code of conduct or ethics or safeguarding awareness. It really wasn't. It was built to deliver responses and keep you engaged. Now, we're already seeing cases in the media where AI has been linked to harmful, useful experiences, where people have relied on what AI has told them to do and done some really quite upsetting things. And AI, kind of the people that own these language models, are not necessarily operating with ethics front of mind. The platforms have not been challenged for addictive design, for example. And you might be aware at the time of recording, there's been a couple of lawsuits in America where, a couple of very large tech companies have been taken to court. Now, they're appealing the legal outcome. But nevertheless, it raises a really interesting question about addictive design within technology. But I'm not here to scaremonger. But what I am here to say is AI is not something that you can blindly rely on for your own personal development. So if you're listening to this episode, I hope that you'll be going and finding yourself a good coach, trainer or therapist to help. But what I do think is going to happen in the coaching industry is I think there's going to be a divide. I think there's going to be a divide between people that don't use AI, don't know how to use AI as coaches, or indeed for various reasons object to using AI, maybe for ethical or environmental reasons. And then there's going to be a chunk of coaches in the industry that are the coaches that know how to utilize AI in order to help them become more efficient, to help them do research, and really give them, in some respects, an unfair advantage over other coaches. My personal view is I don't think AI can replace a good coach, but I do think it can make a good coach even better. Now, let me explain how I might see that happening. Now, I don't have a crystal ball, neither do you. But from what I currently know, sat here in April 2026 recording this episode, I think that there is definitely a balance to be had, and AI can be a very powerful and very useful tool for great coaches. AI is incredible, and it has helped me with all sorts of things within both the businesses which I currently run, and I use it pretty much every day. Some of the things that I think AI is great at in relation to my business is research. So I can ask it questions like, act as an experienced coach and explain de Bono's 6 thinking hats and how to use it within coaching, and give examples, benefits and potential limitations of this tool. And within moments, you've got a structured guide if that's what you've asked the AI language model to give you. So I've used it a lot to help me research. And in fact, within our business training inside Track, there is a module which I've done on this very thing, which is how to use AI as a business owner and how it can help you. And it has saved me so much time and helped me become so much more efficient. I use it pretty much every day in my business for content creation for my marketing. I get it to do research for me to help me inform the blogs that I write. I would potentially use it to help me write a blog. And it might give you an outline of a blog, and then I put me into that blog. So I start changing it. I start looking at it. I start getting it to add in quotes, and I'm like, actually, a quote would be really good here. Go and find me a quote about blah, and it will give me that. So I then work with it to make that content mine. We use it email marketing, again, not blindly, but by asking it questions. This is my objective. This is what I want to get across. This is the tone I like to talk in. And by the way, it learns the kind of stuff that you like and your tone. And, you could feed it, here's a previous email that I've written. Could you help me make it even more impactful? Could you help improve the conversion potential of this blog or email that I might like to send? I've used it in customer service. So where I've written an email response to, let's say, a tricky situation, someone's raised an issue, and I just want to make sure I'm doing the right thing. And I'll put in the draft email that I've written, and then I'll ask it to act as whatever role. You always need to give these language models a role. Act as a specialist in this, or act as an experienced that, or whatever. And for a customer service perspective, we said, how could I make this better? There are some companies that are using it to help them draft legal contracts. Now, I say draft deliberately because, again, you can't rely on AI alone, but you could, for example, get it to draft a contract and then give it to an actual lawyer to check. And that cuts down your costs. So rather than having to get the lawyer to draft the agreement from scratch, you could say, look, here's a contract that I propose to use. Please, could you, Mr. Lawyer or Mrs. Lawyer, give it the once over? So companies are cutting their legal bills by actually getting AI to do some of the groundwork. So I don't currently do that, but I know of other business owners that do. AI can help you create amazing lead magnets. Give it the problem that your ideal customer has. Give it the type of lead magnet that you might like to create. Give it an estimated word count. Tell it how you want it to write it. Do you want case studies? Do you want to include quotes? And again, it's a back and forth process. And then you can take that and pop it into software like Canva, and you could, make it look great from there. There are ways that you can use it for social media and creating posts for different platforms, different tonality. I mean, it'll even write scripts for you for some of your reels or TikTok videos that you might like to do. So all of these are great uses as long as you put you into what it creates and not just blindly use it. It can help you with learning of ideas and frameworks and tools. But here's the thing. AI can give you knowledge, but it can't give you the wisdom on how to apply that knowledge. For example, you could go and ask it to write you a guide on how to create a viral TikTok video, for example. Then it might write a guide for you, and it'll give you knowledge, but it won't give you the wisdom of what's actually working right now. Take NLP. Many of you are here because you follow me because this is an NLP podcast. You could go and ask ChatGPT a question about a particular topic within NLP, and it could give you information, it could give you knowledge, but it can't give you the wisdom on how to apply it. So for example, if you came on an NLP practitioner course with me, yes, you learn knowledge, but actually what's even more powerful than just knowledge is actually practicing it, using it, getting feedback from an experienced master trainer like myself who goes, actually, if you just tweak this and tweak that, you'll find it will work even more effectively. And you're getting the benefit of the wisdom that I have, having been in this industry for a very, very long time. But you can't get that from AI. You see, wisdom comes from experience, it comes from application, it comes from working with real people and seeing what works and what doesn't work. It can't, though, observe you. AI can't correct you. It can't help you refine techniques. It can't help you adapt to the real client that's in front of you in real time. And this is where coaches and trainers, of course, come in. Now, I'm not a lawyer, as I said at the beginning of this episode, but I do think it's important to touch on some of the confidentiality issues and data privacy issues and risks that surround AI currently. And this is quite a practical part of it, but be careful with what you give AI. For example, a lot of people now use apps on their phones to transcribe meetings, and that's all well and good, but do you have permission to do that? Do you have the consent of other people that are being recorded before you do that? If you upload transcripts of sessions and ask AI to summarize it and perhaps generate an action plan, on the face of it, I understand why you would do that, because it would save you time. But there's an issue, because you're then sharing potentially confidential information with an unknown entity, the language model and the owners of that language model, and you don't know who has access to it. So, there's currently people talking about whether governments will ever be allowed to have access to these large language models and be able to see the transcripts of potentially private meetings or conversations. And so I would be very, very cautious about putting any kind of information into an AI language model or any app that uses AI, because let's be honest, you might have a nice little app that, transcript app, for example, but ultimately there is some kind of AI or language model that sits behind that if it's generating a summary for you, for example. So be very, very careful. A lot of companies, particularly here in the UK, are well behind the curve, because a lot of them still at this point don't have robust AI policies or guidance for their staff on how they should be using AI. And what that means is staff members and employees and organisations are going to be using it and potentially could be putting commercially sensitive information into ChatGPT, for example, just because it's convenient. Putting in a set of board meetings for a particular company that you might be a board member of, and on the face of it, you think, okay, let's get it to summarise the meeting so I don't have to read the 200 pages. The challenge, though, is AI now has that data. It has a record of everything that went on in that meeting. So I'm a little bit careful at this point. Again, this is recorded in April 2026, but as I sit here now, I'd be very careful and be cautious about what you put into an AI model as much as what comes out of it. There is a whole new industry starting to be created where they're talking about how they might be trying to create, and companies might start to create and sell what they call private large language models, LLMs, to get around this security issue. But to my knowledge, that's not here yet. So again, you've got to be very careful. And if you are operating here in the UK and you're putting in, for example, confidential people's information into a large language model, you're going to get unstuck, my friends. So be very, very careful and seek some advice on that. As I said, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an AI expert, and I'm not here to scaremonger. But what I am here is to share my experience and share with you some of the watch outs as I see them. So here's what I believe is already happening in the people helping industry. Coaches who use AI are replacing those who don't. Not because AI is better than coaching, but because AI can help you do things faster, it can be more efficient, it can be more consistent, and it can enable you to become more visible, particularly in your marketing and your advertising. And these are some of the things that as small business owners we struggle with. We don't have the budgets to have an army of, well, not even an army, but even 1, maybe 2, 5, 10 people working for us. And then all of a sudden you could have some AI agents working for you to help you. Now, what's an agent? Well, essentially an agent is like your own little part of the large language model that you have trained to do certain tasks. So you might have an agent, which is a little LLM that helps you with your social media, or you might have a little LLM that helps you with your website and SEO, or you might have a little LLM that helps you with generating content ideas for content marketing. And so there are lots of agents which are available at the moment that do a specific task. For example, there are agents or little LLM models which you can use to create videos of yourself without you actually needing to appear in them. So, that can really create additional social media content that, can go out there. Now, we're currently in a place of what they're calling agenetics, which again is another lovely complicated word, but basically where agents talk to other agents. Remember, these are not real people. These are little language models or little parts of a larger language model which actually communicate with one another. So you might have a research agent that goes off and does research and is very good at looking in certain places for information and collects research for you. And that information is passed to another AI agent that's great at doing content writing, for example. And they write you a blog, let's say, for example. And then you might have another little agent that is great at writing social media content. So they take the content that the content creator agent created and they then turn it into social media. So what you're then doing is being much more specific about how you're training different language models in terms of how you operate. And this is a really expanding part of AI at the moment. So essentially you have artificial intelligence or AI team members that are able to help you in some of these tasks. I was on a call the other day, a webinar, and they were talking about, thinking about maybe having an AI agent that specializes in marketing or revenue or operations or customer service or finance, those types of things. Now, I think we're a long way off not having people doing those things, but there are very few jobs that will not be touched by AI. And again, I don't think AI will replace the people in these business functions, but the people that are in these business functions which are using AI are naturally going to get ahead of the game of those that don't. It's really interesting the more that you look into this. Another development that's happened fairly recently, as we're recording this in April 2026, is Claude is another large language model. And they've just done an update on Claude that enables you, and it's scary and exciting in equal measure. So Claude will be able to operate your laptop like you can. So you might be away from your office on your phone and you might be able to send a voice note to your Claude, your LLM, your part of it, and say, open up an email and please email blah blah person and let them know that I no longer can make the appointment that I've got tomorrow, and ask them when it might be possible for us to rearrange that. Like, that's all still possible. In ChatGPT, you can already hook up your Gmail account and get it reading your emails. Now, again, this comes with massive risk in terms of, do you want these large language models to be able to see things that are in your inbox? So be careful is what I would say with that. But essentially, it's really efficient. There's software now that you can have on your computer where you don't even need to type anymore. You just turn this AI little app on your computer and you just talk to it. And you can tell it what you want it to do. So at the moment, we're in a really exciting place when it comes to AI. And I think we should harness the capability of AI, but we should do so in order to help us to elevate what we already do. And AI, I don't believe, is here to replace the qualities of a good coach, therapist, or trainer. And beyond all of the capability and possibility that AI has placed at all of our feet, the thing you also have to remember is people love connection. They love challenge. They love accountability. They love transformation. And coaches are best placed to provide that level of connection, to notice the sensory acuity, to be able to build that rapport, to be able to respond in real time. And so I think AI has a place within our business. I think it can absolutely help us. It's a massive benefit for me. And when used well, it's amazing. But I'm not sure that it's capable of being as good as a human, potentially, as you might be as a coach. So rather than being scared of AI and thinking, well, what's the point in even becoming a coach? Because no one's going to want a coach. I can tell you there are still people out there that want a real person to help them. And I help people all the time in terms of their business. You could argue a lot of people, well, Laura, no one needs a business mentor anymore because you can go to ChatGPT. Yes, ChatGPT can give you knowledge, but it cannot give you wisdom. This is the thing that you need to remember. So, if you've enjoyed today's episode all about AI, I hope you understand AI a little better, help you understand some of the potential and capability that's there. In answer to the question, Laura, well, do I still need your Inside Track program? My answer is yes, not because I want you to invest in it for my benefit. I want you to invest in it because I want you to be able to take advantage of the wisdom that I have built up over more than a decade of running successful businesses. Over £1 million worth of sales I've made, and I've learned an awful lot along the way. And a lot of my wisdom is contained within Inside Track, within our Confident Coach Business Academy. I don't just teach you how to coach. I don't just teach you how to build a business. I teach you what makes the difference. I will help you utilize AI for research and marketing. I'll help you create content faster, help you to structure your business properly, and how to avoid the overwhelm, which AI is going to struggle to do. And the best part is you don't even need a paid AI tool to get started, because the free versions of AI are more than enough to help you with the kinds of things you need to start your business. So if you want to build your business properly and you want to understand the wisdom that I have, then I really would encourage you to go and have a look at Inside Track so that you can understand what it takes to run a successful business. Because let's be honest, the reason that we have come into this space is because we want to help people, and we absolutely can. And if AI is going to help you become even more effective, more faster doing things and better able to help people, you're going to end up being able to help more people. And that's really exciting. So go to thelauraevans.co.uk and check out Inside Track. And if you're listening to this during April or May of 2026, we also have an offer on. So just drop us an email, info@thelauraevans.co.uk, and let us tell you a little bit about what's available at the moment and how I might be able to help you. So as you move forward, don't let fear creep in with AI, and don't ignore it either. Learn it, use it, and leverage it. But never forget, your value is not in the tool. Your value is in the wisdom, the experience, and the presence that you bring as a coach, therapist, or trainer. And there are people out there right now who need exactly that. And I'll see you in the next